Good evening, YouTubers. This is a story of how I got lost on the Pacific Crest Trail. One morning, when I was woken up early in the morning at the ungodly hour of 3 a.m., for some reason I felt motivated to go hiking. So I decided to get out of bed, take a shower, grab a light backpack, put some bottles of water in there, some light snacks, grab my Toyota Camry, and drive out to the Eastern Sierras. So at the time I was living in Bakersfield, so it was maybe about a 3-hour drive to the trailhead of Mount Whitney's sister mountain, Mount Langley. The reason why I chose to hike Mount Langley is that I knew that I didn't need a permit to hike it, so I can just do it at the spur of the moment. So I got out the door maybe a little bit after 3:45 in the morning after getting ready to go out. So I got to the trailhead maybe like three and a half hours later, and it was probably around 7:15 in the morning when I started hiking. Sun was nice and bright, and it was completely lit outside. The weather was really good. Sky was clear. So I started on my hike of the trailhead once I got there. I had never done this hike before, so I was actually just going on from Google Maps how to get to the trailhead, and then I kind of looked up a really kind of very not a very detailed map that I found on the internet. So I used that to start my hike. So I had my some brand new hiking shoes. I had some wool socks that I had. That turns out to probably been a big mistake, and I'll explain about that a little bit later in the video. But first, going on the hike, I already realized from what I learned online it was going to be a 22-mile round trip hike. Same actually distance that Mount Whitney is actually, because I had done Mount Whitney the season before with one of my good friends, and when I went with him, he said, "Never again." Definitely requires some training before sometimes to do some of these hikes in one day, because it is at pretty high elevation. Since Mount Langley is Mount Whitney's sister mountain, it's 14,200 feet above sea level. So oftentimes there's people, if they're not used to hiking at high elevation, they could get some altitude sickness. So I have been in that situation where I've been with some friends or whatnot, and they were feeling pretty bad once they got a little bit above 10,000 feet above sea level. So sometimes they had to stay put, or they had to even go back down. So I was in the situation where I had already been going to the Eastern Sierras many times. This is kind of, I called this the year of the hike, because I would go like every weekend and go on another hike. So I was usually doing a hike that was like 10,000 plus feet above sea level every weekend. So for me, doing the 14,000 foot plus feet hike was not going to be a big deal for me with altitude sickness. And plus, I was in very good running conditioning as well, because I had been running about maybe 50 miles a week, and then also competing sometimes in 5Ks or 10Ks or even half marathons at the time. So cardiovascular wise, it was not going to be a big problem for me. So I'm on the trail. I got my little light backpack. I'm maybe carrying like 4 or 5 energy bars, and then I got maybe 4 or 5 bottles of water. I knew the day was not going to be too hot, so I knew I was not going to sweat too much. So I was going to need a crazy amount of water. So I start on the hike. I'm on the trailhead, and then I noticed that the trail is not very well marked. This is not a really popular trail, because the one that everybody wants to do is Mount Whitney, because that's the one everybody knows about. It's the tallest mountain in the continental U.S., and it's about 300 feet higher than even Mount Langley. However, Mount Langley is no joke. It's still a 22-mile round trip hike. So as I'm going through the hike, I come across a few other hikers, and they're actually not even just hiking for the day. Like, I'm the only day hiker that I even find out there. I'm like running into a lot of people that are actually backpacking that have been staying overnight in certain spots in the Eastern Sierras in the wilderness there. So I run into one guy. He's like, "Hey, what's going on? Did you get your pack stolen or something?" Because he thought he was kind of worried about me because he noticed I didn't have a big backpack, a backpacking backpack, because I wasn't planning on doing any backpacking out there. I didn't have a tent or a sleeping bag or anything. I was just going to go for this hike for the day and then go back. So little did I know, when I was on the hike, maybe I was at maybe like 10, 11, 12 miles in, I was supposed to take a certain route in order to start doing some switchbacks up into Mount Langley. And I passed this like lake called Soldier Lake. And so I was like, uh-oh. Once I got to the Pacific Crest Trail, which is not the trail I was actually supposed to be on anyways, supposed to be on this trail that led all the way to the top of Mount Langley, I realized that I could be going the wrong way. So luckily I actually run into a couple that's on horseback, and I noticed they have a map on them. So I asked them politely if I can use their map, and they were like, yeah, sure. And so I started looking at the map, kind of looking at the terrain, and I was like, oh shit, I went too far. Crap. So a 22-mile round-trip hike was going to turn into a much longer hike. So little did I know that I'm going the wrong way. In fact, the Pacific Crest Trail would have took me to Mount Whitney, because I could see actually Mount Whitney way in the distance. Who knows how long that was going to be? Maybe 30, 40 miles, who knows? But I was not going to the top of Mount Whitney. I already done that before, and that was not the trailhead that I started on. It was a trailhead for Mount Langley. So now that I know which direction to go, so I'm like moving really fast. Luckily, I'm by myself, so I packed really light, so I can move really, really fast through the trail, because I wanted to finish the hike before sundown. So little did I know, I actually added another 7 miles onto my hike. So this day, I wound up covering more miles than I ever did in my whole life. The most I actually ever covered in one day was like 22 miles, because I had done that doing Mount Whitney, and I thought that was all I was going to be covering this particular time for Mount Langley. But I wind up going to Mount Langley, and I go through these switchbacks and everything, and I realize that finally I'm going the right way after looking at this couple's map that I met on horseback. But I knew I had to book it, because I wanted to get back by sundown. I didn't have a flashlight with me. However, I did have my cell phone, so I do have a light on my phone, so that could have worked out by getting back down. But I made a few other mistakes. I did let people know where I was going, which is good, so just in case I got lost or stuck, maybe somebody would eventually want to go try to track me down or find me. Luckily, I got back on course, and I wasn't lost anymore. I knew I was going the right direction at this point, going up to the top of Mount Langley. Since I saw a lot of pictures, I could tell that I was going the right way at this point. However, I did not bring any duct tape. I didn't have the right shoes or socks, because these shoes or socks would have been fine if I had already broken in the shoes. However, I did not break in the shoes. So I was actually developing blisters on my feet. And I was like, oh, crap. So I'm like halfway up the mountain of Mount Langley, and my feet start hurting because the blisters have already developed. And so now every step I take is painful. And eventually, mile after mile, my feet feel like they're on fire, because there's big blisters on my big toes and on one of my other smaller toes as well. And I'm like, good Lord, man, do I take my shoes off and pop these blisters, or what am I going to do? So I just keep going through the pain, keep going. I'm really happy that I'm by myself, because if I was with somebody else and they were getting tired or something, they probably would have been complaining. It's part of the reason why a lot of times I go by myself sometimes on these hikes, because I'm pretty resilient. I'm just going to go and finish no matter what. So I'm booking it as much as I can, but I notice I'm slowing down and I'm not going at my normal speed because my feet are just killing me. This is like the first time I probably have done maybe like 50 plus hikes by this time in my life, and this is the first time I ever got blisters. but I understood why. I had these brand new hiking shoes. They weren't broken in. I didn't bring any moleskin. I didn't bring any duct tape to wrap my feet. I had these wool socks that were brand new too, and they were just rubbing against the and sliding against the toe box of the shoe, causing some moisture as well because my feet were probably sweating a lot. And then ultimately I got some pretty bad blisters. So I'm going up, going up, going up. Finally get to the top of Mount Langley. It takes some cool pictures. Then I start booking it down. So I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but it's really, I have to kind of go gingerly because my feet are just killing me. But I knew I wanted to get back down before the sun came back down. So I wind up running into like a couple other backpackers, and they're like, "What are you part of REI? Are you like trying out some special equipment?" I'm like, no, I'm just doing a day hike. I'm trying to get back to my car right now before the sun goes down. So I'm kind of in a pretty big hurry right now because there's only so much time left. So I keep coming down, and every step is just getting worse and worse. So I decide to stop for a second. I'm taking out my shoes, taking out my socks. I'm going to check my feet. Oh my God. I notice I'm bleeding. The blisters got so bad, they broke and then caused some bleeding on my feet. And I did not bring any band-aids. I didn't have anything to really wrap the feet. So I kind of had to like just put my socks back on, my shoes back on, and just keep going. So I was like, oh my God, what an idiot. Why didn't I just put some why did I bring some, well, I mean, older pairs of hiking shoes, or those more broken in? Why did I bring some duct tape or something? So I keep going, and eventually, after 11 more miles of hiking, with my feet just in complete pain, I can actually see that I'm getting closer to my car. At first, I actually panicked a little bit. I'm like, did I go the right way? Because it seemed like I was hiking forever by the time I was getting close to my car. And fortunately, I got back actually before the sun came down. So the sun, I think twilight was going to be just after like 8 p.m. And I got back to my car just after like 7:15 p.m. So around 7:30 p.m. I was able to get back to my car. And boy, I was relieved. I was like, I got in my car, I drank one more water bottle that I had. I just really quickly ate one of my Cliff Bars, and I was like, oh, I'm going home, man, because I want to relax my feet. I want to take care of them, and I want to take a nice cold shower when I get home, because I was just like sweating profusely because I was just rushing to get back to my car before the sun came down. So I wound up going back to Bakersfield, and I was fine. I just realized that I needed next time wear some more broken in shoes, and then bring the right equipment next time, so I'm not like, and then maybe even bring a better map so I don't go the wrong way next time. But that's how I got lost in the Pacific Crest Trail and got my way back, by just kind of having some resilience and going through the pain. Anyways, if you ever want to go travel through the Eastern Sierras, let me know. I'll give you some good insight, because I've kind of hiked most of the 1,400-foot mountains over there, or actually 14,000 feet mountains over there. Anyways, have a great evening, and if you like my channel, please give me a thumbs up, and see you next time.